Good morning. Well, it is for me. It's about 9 a.m. in the morning here in Wisconsin. Um, Check this out. Got another 81 Escort Wagon. Yes. This one's in some ways nicer than the gray one you guys might have seen. Uh, I got that just a couple days ago, and then this one came later. Both from the same person. From someone who was going to Demolition Derby these, but he was having troubles getting one going, and the other one, this one, they felt was just uh, too complete or too nice to throw into the pit. So it ended up coming home with me, along with that gray one, of course. But yes, this one is in good shape. Some of that's up for debate. Obviously, there's a lot of mold buildup on this guy. Sorry, I said mold. What I meant is moss. It's a lot of moss buildup. That's what happens here up north. Is the stuff gets left under tree canopies or whatever, and they just attract green moss growth, and that's why all the windows are textured and opaque. Why everything else is textured and partly brown, partly seafoam, and partly green. Yeah, it's filthy. It is filthy. But what's cool is underneath all this filth is a very nice Escort. And there are flaws. There definitely are flaws. Most of which happen from it being trailered by either the previous person or person before them. Minor stuff like a broken front turn signal. The turn signals themselves are actually awfully faded, so I do have better lenses for those guys. Front lower molding has been bent up a little bit and twisted some from going on and off trailers, and this fender was buckled in a ways. I yanked it back outwards, and I'll have to play around with some of the structure behind it because they put in a frimpy brace behind that, so we'll just do everything it takes to make that right. And then there's a couple nicks and gouges like that, but that's not anything too severe. And then of course the deck lid, as most of mine do now, does have a few good dents in it, but I'll be able to pop out a lot of those with a little bit of work, so it's not too bad. But yeah, nice dewy morning. You can see that all this just comes straight off. So it will clean up nice. Problem is this time of year, it's hard to clean it off because like this morning it's 30, 39-ish, 42 degrees, somewhere in there, and it will get up to maybe 65, which is very odd for November, especially here in Wisconsin. But we've already winterized all of our hoses and stuff, so for me to clean this off, it'll have to be on a day that's well above freezing. But then I also have to have enough time to go and drain out the entire hose and the pressure washer and winterize that stuff again. So we'll see what we'll do about that, because I'd love to share this with you guys once it's clean. Because as it sits right now, it's a cool piece, but it's still a piece, if you know what I mean. It just needs some cleaning and a little bit of labor, and this thing will be very nice. Yeah, because you can see underneath the moss buildup, the bumpers are chrome, and they are complete. They got all their wraparounds, and most of the door guard moldings are around. If I am missing that one, I can take one from another car. That piece is actually in the car. Like I said, I do have better turn signals. I do have a better grill. This one's actually not bad at all. It's got some weird cracking right there that I can easily fix, but otherwise it's just dirty. Front bumper is in great shape. Going off the license plates, this was last driven in Montana, 2014, I think the sticker said on the back. The history of this car is unknown. Odometer says it's got 56,000 miles. There's a possibility it has 156, but it's also very possible that it only has 56,000 miles. I'll know more once I go and rebuild the engine. But so far, the only problems with it are the mechanical fuel pump is shot. It's not pumping fuel like it oughta, and the ignition switch had died somewhat recently. When you hop in the car and you turn the key a little bit, get it out of the lock position, some of the lights will come on, sometimes they don't. And when you turn the key all the way to the right, it does actually start the motor and runs the ignition. However, when you let off the starter, it kills the ignition. So that's my sign that the ignition switch is popping out. And then we zoom in, it is. Look at that. So that's how it goes. So when it's popping out closer to you, your only functions will be the starting position. If it's popping out from farther from you, all your functions will only work in the position where you first have your key. So but otherwise, not hardly any rust at all. There is some rust on the left rocker panel, and that was only caused because someone had tried jacking up the rocker panel and they split it, and when they did that, they exposed some metal, and now it's starting to turn brown, but it's still savable at this point. Oh no, I'm thinking of my gray car. Oh, this one's fine, I guess, over here. It does have all of its emblems. It's got the Escort World Car World Globe emblem on both sides. It still wears all of its trim. It does have factory sunroof. It wears its Ford badges, because in 81 they weren't blue ovals, it just had Ford. Not until 82 would they go back to the blue oval. On every Ford car, that is. And yes, Escort GL. And this one is fairly loaded. See, it's got rear wiper. Not just that, it's got sunroof. Not just that, it's got the vinyl and cloth low back seats with the adjustable headrests. And it doesn't look like this one reclines. Oh, maybe it does. It does. Someone had these, or I think someone had these seats out and put them in backwards. I won't bet this is the driver's seat and it's worn out, so someone switched them around. But that's your recline adjust, and it's an automatic, and it's got the warning light system down below, which is actually utterly useless. It has an aftermarket radio. What it originally had was just the it was the AM monaural radio. So they call it mono because it only has one speaker, and that would be here. And it has the clock. So it's got the mono speaker clock, AM radio. It has factory AC. It has factory rear wipers. It's factory cruise control. I'll pop open the hood in a bit where you can see that it has factory power steering. Door buzzer works. And it has, sadly, only the basic gauge cluster. When I'm done with this guy, I'll try to put in the better gauge cluster. It does have dual mirrors. It does have the passenger sun visor vanity mirror. Take the key out so it stops buzzing at us. And that's about it. This car striked every single option except for the following. So pay attention. It's got absolutely everything but the following. It doesn't have the better instrumentation. It's similar, but the gauges are round, and on the left there would be a tachometer. It did not have the stereo AM/FM radio. Again, this is an aftermarket unit. But if it had the AM/FM stereo radio, it would be here first off. But then also, instead of having these coin trays, there would be speaker grills here, and you'd actually have two round speakers. And if you had the premium sound, there would be an amplifier under here. so sound amplifier. It did have the cargo cover. It's sadly long gone. I do have an EXP one, but I believe they're very different. But aside from that, the only option it don't have is interval wipers and the SS or Squire packages. So the Squire is the wood grain package, and that would replace all of these two bezels, at least, with wood grain. And down the side of the cars would be wood grain paneling, so it would turn this car into a Woody. And the SS's, they're pretty fancy. All the trim is blacked out like it would be on an EXP. So that would be all the window moldings and the bumpers and the grill and the headlight bezels. So it pretty much flat blacks all of the trim on the car. But then you also get some sweet stripes down the side, and then a decal somewhere in this area that says in big bold letters SS. But that also came with, I believe, the EXP wheels, if it was like that, and I think they had slightly different suspension. They didn't have the TRX suspension yet for 81, so you won't have TRX shocks, but you might have some sort of upgraded shocks, upgraded springs. That was otherwise about it. But yes, it's really cool. And it, like I said, it is complete. And underneath these many layers of seat cushions are decent seats. It seems the only issue so far is just a lot of checking on the sides, where the vinyl is, and it needs a lot of cleaning. It's so dirty, inside and out. It's terrible. And then someone had applied a whole bunch of goop onto the sunroof. I assume they presumed it leaked, and while doing this, it prevents leaks, but it doesn't fix the issues that you have if your sunroof is leaking. There's only a few possible places it can be leaking from. So underneath this guy, there's a door gasket seal that goes all the way underneath it, just like these guys. Same stuff. But then it sits in a tray or a trough. Yep, see, you can see that the gasket has died right in here. So that's part of the problem. The other problem is there's a tray back here. Like you can see here when I put my finger up against the fabric. You can see it's only an inch wide, and it goes all the way across the bottom lip of this sunroof. And it has a few drains. And the drains, I believe, for the wagons and four doors go down the C-pillar. On EXPs, they go down the C-pillar. On the two-door Escorts, it might only go down the B-pillar, maybe the C-pillar. They could go down this. I'm not totally sure. This would be the B-pillar. But they all go down the front A-pillar for sure. But if any of those drains are clogged, then water will pull up inside this trough, and then it'll drip in. As long as water doesn't pool up here, you'll never have any internal leaks. But you can tell that there definitely were some significant leaks, and it was ruining some of the underlayment behind the headliner. This is actually fixable. What happened is it tore out all the stitching, oddly. So I can just go back in and stitch it by hand. It'll probably suck, but it's not too complicated of a procedure. Yeah, if you didn't notice, the car is red on red, and it really does have everything. The armrest that's missing is actually under the seat. Sadly, the build sheet is not under the seat, but we'll grab our keys and we'll pop open the hatch. And you can check out the back half of the car. I haven't opened this up yet, so it'll be news for you and me. There we go. I think I did it. Did I? I did. I'll do it again now that I've, yes. Oh, and the struts hold. Look at that. They're very sticky. To be fair, it is a rather cold morning, but it is sticky. Oh, okay. Now it's dropping back down on me. So there is a happy place for them. But yeah, someone did install a aftermarket hitch on this guy. It could have been a dealer thing, but does this have the wiring and everything? Seems for 81 they used a different paneling to go over the spare tire. It looks like this one is just a little bit more cardboard than what they normally used. And sadly, spare tire is missing, but I do have 2 jacks. This one up here is not for an EXP or Escort. It might not even be a Ford. I'm not too sure. I don't really care. I just know that that doesn't mean no good, so that will go elsewhere. Yeah, this is where the cargo cover would go. It's a roll-up system. So you grab it and you pull it out, kind of like old office curtains or drab that drags, crap, whatever they call it. It seems this car has a little cubby in the back. It's newest for me. This is my first Escort to ever have the rear paneling in it. The rear seat does fold down as intended. You just pull out that metal lever and it drops down. It's not perfectly flat. It seems these earlier cars, they made the bottom bun for the rear bench seat a little too thick, because when you fold down that seat, it's not flat at all. Versus the later years that have the single bench seats, like my 86 Escort L, when you fold down the seat, it is actually very flat, or very close to flat. But that's about all. There's a lot of junk you can see that I really need to clean out, but here you can see the majority of the rust. Actually, that's not even rust, it's just dirt, now that I'm looking at it. So this guy has very little rust. There's some dents, and as always there's going to be scratches with things like this, but it's in great shape. I'll make more videos as I restore this one, or at least clean it up and preserve it. I'm sure if you saw my gray wagon video, you'll probably remember that I was going to cut that one up because it's rust-free without title. This one I'm going to save some way, somehow. I just gotta work out the title situation. But this one has great potential, mostly because it's complete. It runs. The brakes don't even drag yet. Bite my tongue yet. But it is so specced out with so many options. And holy cow. Yeah, if you were counting along the only options it does not have is the SS or wood grain options, which you can't have on the same car. So that we'll just say that's one option. The next option this doesn't have is the interval wipers. The next option this doesn't have is the stereo. Am I missing anything? Oh, the gauge cluster. So it's got all but 4 options. This was back when you could option the crap out of any car, and it wasn't just things like, yes, heavy duty battery or Bose speakers instead of Sony speakers. I mean, you're splitting hairs with that stuff. But these, you could have absolutely nothing to absolutely everything under the sun, which made them cool. But yes, this is a treat. The hood seems to have been resprayed at some point. You can see there's overspray marks on that HVAC intake inlet hub thing. Can't remember the specific term. But the rest of the car seems to wear its original paint. I'm not seeing any signs of respray anything except for that. So Yeah, the hood hinges are great. The latches are great. It does fire up and it runs pretty good. And the auto actually has all of its linkage connected. I found out with the gray car, it really didn't want to leave park because all the linkage was disconnected. But it's got the the cold air intake for the alternator. It's got the Escort style intake for the snorkel. This was interesting. They made this a single piece for 81. I believe 82 on up. For sure on the EXPs, but on the Escorts too. I believe this this corrugated section, it was always like this one, where it's separate and it's rubber around the steel band. So this actually flexes some and is a removable item. This guy is casted as part of this, so you don't want to bend it too far, as it will just break. Yes, down in there, you can see the factory AC system, the one I dread. I believe that is the type of compressor and mount where you can't change the compressor without dropping the engine. And back here you can see there is power steering. The smog pump is down there. Is there a smog pump? Dang, I don't believe it. There's no smog pump on this one. That's one less thing I'll have to fix. There's the cruise control unit. It does have the power brakes. This has a booster behind it. I don't know about the wagons, but the 2 doors and I think the 4 doors, boosted brakes were an option. You could have manual brakes all the way until, for sure, at least 84. But yes, as soon as I fix the fuel pump, it's just going to convert to electric. It's worlds better. So the last thing you want is a mechanical fuel pump to start weeping and starts injecting fuel into your oil. Yeah, that's great. That's exactly what your engine wants. So you'll never see me praise mechanical fuel pumps. Get that crap gone. Otherwise, yes, I just have to do that. I have to drain out the fuel that's in the tank. It's been there for who knows how long. Then I'll hook back up the tank lines, run a lot of stabilizer, seafoam, something like that, some sort of fuel additive cleaner through the entire system so carbs aren't consuming junk and the fuel pump isn't consuming junk and it's not blocking my filter or anything. And then we'll double check everything and take this out for a spin. Yes, it'd be sweet. But yeah, I've probably gone on long enough. I know this isn't as long of a video as my other 81, but I get kind of wound up in these because I love wagons. And I think these 81s are sweet. They're pretty rare. Well, when you look at production numbers, they're not rare, but look at how many still exist today. That's a rare figure. And it's so cool when you see one like this that is complete, fully optioned, rust free. So I intend to keep it that way. And like I said, even though I'm busting down the gray one and my gold one and my red 4-door, this red wagon will live on, and I'll drive it as much as I can. Well, we'll see. I drive nothing more than my blue EXP, and well, this year we're hoping to have the convertible all done, thanks to that silver wagon I got. But yes, if I ever feel I'm not driving enough, it will go up for sale after it's all prettied up. I've refused to let anything this scuzzy leave my hands at any time. If something's going to leave, it's going to be nice. As I like to say, good things can't stay here. But we'll try to fix that. I have enough wagons now. I can actually do what I've always wanted to do and put a EXP front clip on one of these guys so I can have an EXP wagon. But we'll see. We will see. But I'll let you guys go and keep an eye out. Because like I said, as I go through this one, I will be documenting everything. And as I do service work on it. I'll be documenting that. I know you guys have always been asking about the ignition switch replacement, so I will actually finally do that sometime, being this one doesn't work and it aggravates me when they don't. And we'll do the electric fuel pump conversion and a few other things. We'll do all my favorite mods to these guys. Eventually we'll rebuild the engine. We gotta do the timing belt and all that related goodness. Double check all the wheel bearings. And we'll do everything we can to make this car nice and stout. But yes, we'll let you go and check back real soon, guys.